Welcome back to Ox Tools. I'm Tom. So this is your Monday Night Meatloaf, episode 55. This is a little bit of a special one. It was my birthday on Saturday. It's Sunday afternoon right now. So I decided to take a little time off work and play in the shop for a week or so. So hopefully that'll translate into more videos for you guys. And we'll see how that goes. I think I got a couple of tricks up my sleeve for you there. We got a viewer appreciation package from overseas that we're going to take a look at. Took a little trip to the flea market and almost got skunked, but I got two items, noteworthy items that we'll check out and take a look at. And then something I got at that estate sale, we're going to do a little bit of work on that. We'll take a look at that. So anyway, let's suit up. Let's get going. I'm going to change the format just a little bit in that the sun's coming through the window, so I'm going to change positions and so I don't have that bright sunlight to deal with on the workbench. So anyway, we'll check it out and let's see how it looks. Okay, so the first thing from the flea market was this guy here, and this is a bumping hammer. It's an auto body hammer, and I couldn't see the head, but I could see the handle. And this is a giveaway for these plum hammers. They're kind of octagonal cross section, and then they have flats on them like that. And then they have the green paint, and then, so I picked it up and I looked at it, and it's in pretty good shape. The handle's not, it's got a little split on it, but that's not too bad. And it's got the original wedge, and then somebody added something that probably got a little loose. It feels a little loose. We can probably fix that up. And it needs to be polished. Anyway, these are desirable hammers. They have these very nice thin handles. They have a little bit of bounce and a little bit of spring to them. They're just quite nice. This was $5, and which is a great deal for this. I've actually paid a fair amount for a plum hammer on eBay, of all places. And this is a number 1426, which you can actually look up in their catalog. Now, if you look at the handle here, it looks like it's been out in the sun, or I don't know what, but it's got a little warp to it. So it's got kind of this general curve back this way. Interesting. It's not damaged. Anyway, $5, that was a pretty good deal. I'm pretty happy about that. I'll clean this all up and polish the faces, and then give this a little wax job, and to kind of protect it and a little bit. So anyway, pretty good. Okay, so the next one that I got at the flea market was this guy right here. And actually, I don't know if I want to, I'll leave it. I'll lay it over. I'm contained here. Anyway, it's an Eagle 66 oiler, but it's kind of a very, very unique one. And so there's a little story here, okay? Let's see if that says, yeah. So this is a custom that Eagle made for Western Electric, or the Bell system. It's got KS numbers on it. In fact, it says KS 7470 oil. Now, if you look this up and check it out, this was designed for lubricating teletypes, which is pretty cool. And it's got this I'm going to turn it over for just a sec. Got this very, very fine tip. And this very strange trigger mechanism here. I don't know if you can see that. It's got a little wire on it. It's spring loaded. I'm not clear why it has that. Don't know. And then this looks like, I haven't loosened that yet, but maybe you can move this in and out, or I don't know. But let's go ahead and demo it here on something. What do I have here? Well, darn it, I should have grabbed something. Let's do this. Maybe you guys can get an idea, but you can just put a tiny little drop out with this, And now this oil, it looks old to me. Smells a little old. I looked it up. It's actually kind of interesting. It's a very highly refined mineral oil for lubricating, instruments and things like that. Its closest modern equivalent is Starrett tool and instrument oil, I think is what they were saying. Anyway, so that was $5 too. I saw it in a bin of other oil cans like that, and I said, "Oh, look at that!" Pulled it out, and I was like, "Holy smokes, look at that thing!" So anyway, that's a Western Electric or Western Bell custom oiler from Eagle. Okay, so this mystery thing that's completely unlabeled, and so if you haven't seen one of these, you don't know what it is. It turns out what it is a kind of a temporary shelf. So you stick it, so this is a corner of a room or whatever. You stick it in the corner and you extend I gotta watch out here. You extend this lever. This jabs into the sheetrock, and then these blades extend into the sheetrock, and now you have a shelf that can bear something like 10 pounds or something like that. Doesn't really say. This is one of these, inventor guys or whatever. It says patent pending. Somebody had this, some crazy inventor guy had this idea, and then went over to China or whatever and had it manufactured. I don't think it quite caught on. Anyway, so that's a temporary shelf. A whole bunch of people guessed and got they'd seen one of these or bought one. I don't know which, but a bunch of people got this right. So it's a temporary shelf. Okay, so this next one here is a viewer appreciation gift from all the way from Greece, and this comes from Dimitri, and he's otherwise known as Jimmy. I guess that's what he goes by. And he has a YouTube channel, Jimmy's Canal. Anyway, check that out. Check out his channel. He's doing some other stuff. Anyway, he sent myself and Adam Booth some sets of taps. And they're kind of interesting, actually. And I thought they looked a little funny when I started looking at them. And but I didn't think much about it, and these missed the last Meatloaf episode, and so they're in this one. But Adam already looked at his, and they caught his attention too because they were kind of strange. I just thought they were boxes of 3 taps, right? Well, if you look at them closely, they're slightly different, and even though they're the same size. So what these are, it turns out, and they're made by Narex. These are the guys that make actually boring heads and some cutting tools and whatnot. So this is a roughing, a intermediate, and then a finishing tap, which is kind of interesting. You see this one has a nice long lead on it. This one has, I don't know, a 3-tooth lead, and then that has a 1.5-tooth lead there. So, and then the diameter changes too. So you drill your hole, you rough it, you semi-finish, and then finish. And so there's a couple different sizes here. I think Adam got the big fat taps, and Jimmy sent me the little the daintier ones. So anyway. Jimmy or Dimitri, thank you very much for the taps. I thought they looked a little funny to start with, but now that's kind of an interesting thing. I'll have to try out the roughing and the semi-finishing and finishing. So now Jimmy, he also he's into photography, so he builds pinhole cameras, which is kind of neat. And he sent me some pictures from some of his pinhole cameras, and I'll show you one of the pictures. This is actually my favorite picture that he sent me here. Check it out. Okay, we're back. So anyway, that's an example of Jimmy's pinhole cameras and some of his photography there. Anyway, Jimmy, thank you very much. Appreciate the gift, and I know that took a little bit of effort to send it international mail. Thank you. Okay, so this is this Allberg chuck that I got at that estate sale about a week ago. And I mentioned that it had kind of a chowdery shank on it here, and this is made in China, the shank, and then this guy Ed, he had ground this to fit in a tool holder for a CNC machine, I think. So anyway, I bought another arbor here, and this one's made in France. This came from McMaster-Carr. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pop this one out and replace it, and switch over to this one here because I don't like that chowder. Anyway, the other thing I'm going to do too is I'm going to cut this one off a little bit. In fact, I'm going to cut it off right here at this point here where that relief is. And the reason is it shortens the shank, and you don't have to drop the knee of the mill as much to get this up into the collet. Now, before you guys go nuts and say, oh, it won't be as accurate, blah, 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 blah. So here's an R8 collet, and it happens to be a 1/2 inch, this particular size here, okay? Now, and it's hard to see down in there, okay, but trust me, that the part that's 1/2 inch in this, we're going to use a little hook rule, we're going to go down in there. It's only 1 inch long, okay? So any extra shank longer than 1 inch really is kind of useless, okay? So, if this goes in to there, we're done, okay? We're as good as we need to be. Now, there is one minor disadvantage is, when we put this in, we'd put it in something like that, right? Okay? Let's just say that would be appropriate insertion into the collet. Excuse me, I got a runny nose. The only negative is that if you had to reach down into a hole or something like that the chuck actually fit, theoretically we could stick it out of the collet a little farther. That's a pretty rare event, and moving the knee up and down above the vise is a much more frequent operation, and so that's an extra. Let's see, what is that? Okay, that's roughly 1 inch, right? So let's just say that's 10 turns on the knee to change that height to get that in and out of there. Now, if you don't have a power feed on your knee, that's 10 turns several times a day. Extrapolate that out into a year or two, and then it's a reasonable time savings. This is one small trick. So I've got all my shanks kind of lopped off like that. So I'm going to cut that one off and dress the end, and then we'll insert it into this little chuck here. Okay, so let's get set up here. I kind of did a dry run on it there. So I have these little, these are arbor separation wedges, and these come from McMaster-Carr or somebody else, and I don't know, they're about $5 or $6 a set, but I bought some, and these are the littlest ones that they make. I'm going to drop a washer on here just to take up a little bit of space, and you'll see why in a sec here. Make sure I get that going the right way there. So what we want is the wedges to make kind of a parallel action here. Let's get those set up like so. And then be straight this way, okay? And then if everything goes right, which it might not, this should pop right off. Now what I'm worried about here is this opening here and this arbor diameter are pretty close here. There's not a lot of overhang, so it's possible those legs will splay open a little bit and give me grief. But let's give it a try. Let's see what happens. I'm just going to tap it with a copper hammer on here. there. It's in there pretty good. Yeah, well, that arbor's on there pretty good, and here's our evidence. Check this out. It's plowing some material on this shank here. What that means to me is this shank is actually pretty soft, which is kind of surprising, actually. All right, let's give it a little more. All right, I think I'm at the end of my travel there. See, this is flush with the other one. So let's see here. How do I continue on? Let's do that. Okay, made it. I think I just barely made it. Look at that. That sucker's buried in there. So it's interesting when that pops loose. I guess it creates a little bit of heat, and some of that oil kind of vaporized, and I could smell it. So now I got to get this off. Okay, can I interest anybody in an arbor? Look at that. So these are unscathed here, but that thing's chowdered. So it's double extra chowdered. All right. Anyway, that's going to go in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this real good, and I'm going to clean that real good. Actually, I got to cut this off first. So I got a little bit more to do. Alright, so we're over here on the mill because I have something set up in the lathe and I don't want to take it out, so we're just going to square the end of this up in the mill. There's a natural little chamfer right here too, so I'm just going to deck this off with a carbide end mill and bring it back to that little chamfer and call it good. Alright. Make sure I'm tight. I think this is harder than the other one. The chips are coming off blue. Now I'm just taking very, very light cuts here. You get a look at it here. A little more. Likes that climb cut. I'm going to call that good there. Oh yeah, finish is good. And then I'll just stone that a little bit, and then we'll mount it. Okay, so we're gonna give this thing a little clean. Basically, we want these mounting tapers real basic, with nothing on them. No grease, no oil, no dust. Otherwise, you can. There's a little bit of crud on there, not much.
And then just going to swab out the inside of this. Oh yeah, there's some stuff in there. All right, so when I want to make sure that the jaws are fully retracted below the surface here. Okay, I don't want to push on the jaws real hard. Okay, and we're just going to slip these two together. Okay, and then I'm just going to give it a little press here. That looks pretty good. All right, let's go put it in the mill. All right, let's check out our mounting job. And then to check it, I got a 1/4-inch gauge pin here. I'm just gonna stick that in the chuck, snug it up. Put our little back plunge guy on here. This has got a nice broad, let's see, can you guys see? Yeah, you can see that. Nice broad contact button for this kind of stuff. All right. Oop, wrong way. Let's see. I'm just going to spin it by hand. I'll put it in neutral. Let's see, what do we got there? It's hard for me to see the indicator myself. Is that a 1 or something? What is that? 1.5 or something? And 1.5, about 1.5 inches from the chuck. Let's clock the pin first. See if that changes anything. Maybe, huh? And then let me take that out. We're going to clock this in the collet a little bit and see if that makes any difference. So, you know, there's several sources of error, so you got to be careful what you correct for, right? So understand what you're correcting for before you correct, right? And you know, there's a little that you can do to straighten these out, but see, okay, so all I did was clock that in the collet, okay? Take it in and out of the collet. Make sure it's touching. Yeah, it's touching. Okay, so there's an example, right? So there's a source of error there, right? So I rotated that in the collet, I took it out and put it back in, and now, okay, that's as good as it gets, okay? Basically, I don't see the needle moving at all, and it is touching, okay? Anyway, so I'm not going to mess with it. Let's put it that way. All right, so we got a new all-brick chuck in our arsenal, and it's a cute little guy, and with a nice French arbor on it.